I can see you, Krista, but I can't hear you.
Okay.
Now I can. Maybe you just weren't talking.
I wasn't talking, but thank you for letting me know. I have something on my screen. I can't, there we go. I just minimize. Let's get out of this. I apologize. I'm sorry this is this if
Okay.
it frustrates you guys, you just have no idea how much it frustrates me. No. Makes me crazy. I want this to be a good, seamless experience for you guys when we do this online teaching. And right now, it isn't. So I apologize. I've got to bring back up my PowerPoint. I had to shut down my computer. I restarted it. And so we will bring up. And this is Ignite 15. I have to bring up my PowerPoint again. I have to start, not all over, but enough that, yeah, let Serenity know that we are. Okay, that's not correct. Okay. Isn't the right one. How's that little baby girl of yours, Callie?
She's good. I just put her down for a nap. I have her
Okay.
home full time with me now, so that's been a challenge, but we're getting used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, nap time is a lovely time if they go
Yeah.
if and when they go down for a nap.
Yes.
Okay, we will get back to this. I'm going to share screen. Well, before I do that, I need to do this.
Yeah, I'll probably bring her in there sometime tomorrow. I need to print some flyers
Yay!
and things for a couple open houses and
I'll work on getting you a crib.
Yeah, I hope I get to see her. I'm
yeah.
anxious to see the baby girl. That would be so fun. Okay, now I'll be sharing screen so that we can get back to the PowerPoint. Get back to business. I want to get back to business. Okay, all right. So, okay. Oh, it's twirling though. Okay, I've got 3 people wanting to enter. Yay. Serenity wants to come in. Megan. Dominic's is trying to come in.
Am I still there? Okay. Yay.
All right. Okay, the stars are aligning for a moment, so we're going to take advantage of it. For those of you logging back into Zoom or coming on Zoom for first time this morning, we've been having some issues. So as you may or may not know, we can no longer, because of Facebook and Meta, we can no longer live stream onto our Facebook page. So you can only get on Zoom to join us remotely, and that's how it's going to be for the near future. We hope that we can figure out something else, but there are not a whole lot of options that we know of right now. We think the reason Facebook is doing this, or Meta, is that they may be coming up with their own option. So I don't know, but we'll hope that they come up with something, because right now I can't go on Facebook Live, just on Facebook Live, because you can't share screen. I can't bring, you can't, all you can do is type in questions, so it's not very interactive. So just hang tight with us as we bump through some of these turns in the technology. Here, Megan and I thought it was us on Tuesday that were messing it up, and then that did a search. I went on Google to try to figure it out. She found out that they had announced that on the 23rd, no more third-party connections for this. So, but that doesn't stop us. We keep going and we keep going through this. So already went through that we're in win with sellers and how vital seller leads are. Seller leads, remember, although you may work with more buyer leads in your first year of real estate than listings, you do not want to keep that your model, because you can always handle more listings at one time than you can buyers. So it's critical that you understand that, because here's what I hear. Well, I really like working with buyers. That's awesome. I really just want to work with buyers. Okay, so if that is your choice, just know your ability to grow your business is going to be limited to how many buyers you can handle at one time. And right now, because of the current market and having to write multiple offers to win a house, remember nationally, what did NAR say? The average buyer writes 5 offers before they win. And they take up to, was it 15 months? No, it wasn't 15 months. It was, oh, I can't remember now. I had that stat in my head, but it takes longer. So the time it takes us we can find houses, but can they win houses? So remember that listings are truly, that's why in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the triangle, and Gary says it's leads, listings, leverage. Those are the key elements to building a healthy, successful real estate business. So it's okay in your first year if you lean heavier towards buyers. Just know that you want to get it at least to a 50-50 split between listings and buyers. And then always try to lean more to the seller side. Does that make sense? So I want to make sure you guys understand that some of the things we talk about in your first year, like you might work with more buyers. You may work with more strangers in your first year, because everybody who knows you or in your phone, they know you're new. And some people, that won't bother them at all. And some, they actually want to see how you're doing first before they jump in and use you or recommend you. You want to make sure that you saying you're a real estate agent is the real thing. It's not just a passing fancy. So for the people that you know, there's going to be a population of them. You have to prove it, right? And so but those, when we talk about those two things, working with more strangers and working with more buyers, that is not the ideal going forward. It should be that, yes, you're going to always work with some strangers, or you should, especially if you want to build a huge business. If you really want to be a millionaire real estate agent, then you're going to have a solid database of people you know, a good size one. And then you're going to also have to be going over after strangers all the time. If you want just a successful, healthy business and you want to get to a referral only business, that's great. And that's what the majority of our agents here do. They have built amazing databases and relationships. And so that's what fuels their business. And yes, they might work with some strangers, but they're not actively going after strangers, if that makes sense. Okay. So let's keep it trucking. Okay. The 3. Okay. Here's what I was just talking about. The 3 L's of real estate: the listings, the leverage, the leads. All your clients are amazing, and we're grateful to each and every one of them who chooses to work with us. But sellers are special. Here's the other thing that's so special about sellers: they should bring you additional business. Every listing should bring you no less than 1 or 2 pieces of business, either through a sign call, internet lead off of your listing, open houses, neighbors. So every listing should bring you additional business. Now, here's what's happened in the last couple of years, and I don't think enough agents have really picked up on this because too many of them, I'll ask you guys, how many of you have scheduled an open house with another agent's listing, and then they say, oh, we're canceling the open house because we went under contract, and it's just the first weekend? Well, that's a bad strategy, because you know what? That agent want two things. The reason I would always talk to my sellers in advance and say, even if we're going to come on the market on a Thursday or Friday, even if we accept a contract, I'm going to ask that we still do an open house, and here's why. We have to have a backup plan, and that's how you're going to sell it to your sellers, because I, as a listing agent, shouldn't feel totally secure going under contract with a buyer without a backup offer, if at all possible. Now, not all buyers will put in a backup offer, but I don't know why. They have nothing to lose. It's like a no-brainer if it's a house they love. Unless the listing agent tells me this is cash, thus there's no appraisal. And they check boxed 2 or 3 on the in its present condition, so they have no way to cancel. And there's no appraisal that could be, that's a contingency that they could, or they end up not getting financing, the financing contingency. Then I wouldn't do a backup offer, because the likelihood of them stepping away is little to none. However, if it's not that situation, then all day long, please. If your buyer loses out on a house and it's got that window of opportunity, have that conversation with your buyer about how it's worth our while to do a backup offer. Now, you need to be going to Linda's contracts class, because she's going to tell you how to use the backup offer addendum that must go with your backup offer for it to be solid. And here's what feels so weird is all parties are going to sign and negotiate that contract so it's solid, and then you go on hold, because that's what the backup offer addendum does. And your buyer doesn't have to submit an earnest deposit at that time. They don't have to do inspections. That's all on hold until that first buyer would cancel, and then you get notified that you're the primary. So all day long do that, because you never know. And if you were at Tuesday's business meeting, you heard David Conderman say, we're finding that about 19% of the first buyers' offers are falling through. That's a big percentage. We had that a couple of years ago, it was about 20%. So because it's so crazy and there are multiple offers, buyers are having to make super quick decisions. And most of the fallout, I will tell you, is buyer's remorse, going, oh crud, what did we do? What did we do? Oh my gosh, we just paid top dollar to get this house, and I don't know if I love it so much. And we only saw it for 20 minutes. Wow. So opportunity there. Love the leads. Okay. So we love the listings, because they not only just bring us the commission, but the build a relationship for repeat and referral business. And they bring us the best marketing opportunities. Remember, when your listing is in a neighborhood, you're in that neighborhood for a minimum 45 days, minimum 45 days, unless it's a cash offer and you close in 10 days. Did you know that's usually the fastest you can close on cash? So please don't put a 5-day closing period on a cash transaction. It probably can't be done, because there's stuff that still has to be done. Wow. What are you going to do in that neighborhood while your sign and your listing is in that neighborhood? You need to take advantage, because it's like having a marquee sign in a neighborhood. Neighbors are going by your sign all the time. And so you want to take advantage of that. So just a little bit, let's take a look at how we service sellers. So here is our seller service cycle. And there's 7 steps in this cycle. The one is when we get those leads, potential seller leads, is we gotta convert them. And then we've got to do the pre-listing and qualify them. Remember what I said, not everybody's an A buyer. Even if they want to sell, they may not be able to sell. And that's your job to figure that out. You're going to ask the right questions and the right documentation. Like somebody's in an LLC or they're selling their mom's house who passed. Before we sign that listing agreement, I've got to see that documentation. One, for the LLC, I've got to make sure the right person is on the listing agreement. They may not have the authority to sell that house. And also remember what I said about the seller's estimated. You have to do that. You have to know they can afford to sell that house. 3 things about a seller. 1, they don't always know what they need to tell us about the finances. Or the financials, or the tax liens, or the mechanical liens, or the bankruptcy, or the divorce and behind on child support, or, I mean, there's things that they don't know they're supposed to share with us. 2, they're embarrassed, to Megan's point, they're embarrassed to tell us. And 3, they're trying to hide something, which usually comes out in the title work, right? So it's up to us to ask those questions in that pre-listing, because I've seen many an agent, and not just new agents, so I won't put it in the only new agent bucket, is they don't do enough due diligence. They jump because somebody said, I want to list my house. They didn't slow down to ask the questions and to figure out and to see the documentation before they listed that house. And then you get too far down in this cycle and you may get offers. You might actually go under contract, and then title work gets pulled and you find out seller has no business selling this house. And that's not fair to the buyer. It's not fair to the buyer's agent. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the seller. So it's our job to make sure that when we're doing this cycle, we're not skipping steps. And when you're new, it's very easy, and I did it, so I get it, to let the client all of a sudden take the lead. Well, we want to list it next Tuesday. Well, it's Thursday. I would tell you that it takes me 10 days minimum to get your house ready to go on the market successfully. And that's not even what that's taking out what the seller might need to do to their house to get it ready, right? So don't let a seller push you. There are very few that have a need that they have to go on the market in less than 10 days. That's so rare. It should never happen in your world, because you will educate them that we've got to come up with a marketing, all the marketing that I'm going to do, that's got to be created and designed. We've got to come up with a successful pricing strategy. And that's not something that I don't just throw out a number. I literally chew on numbers and CMAs, so that you will have, when I present a price range to you, it's going to be based on good, relevant data, not just me kind of just winging it. There are very few agents that can do it from the gut, and it's not from the gut. It's because they have years of market knowledge. David Conderman's one. I think he could go into, and here's the thing. He couldn't go into just any neighborhood.
He's familiar.
Only the ones he's familiar with. So don't feel like you have to be an expert in pricing in all different areas if you haven't done the research in that area. There are only a couple of agents that I truly believe could go into their core areas and be able to price without having to chew incessantly on numbers. For me, CMAs, I spent over 2 hours bare minimum chewing on the numbers and running the numbers and looking at everything and then rerunning them. and then looking at all the elements. So I didn't just do a CMA, put in the information once and go, yeah, this is it.
I drive by the homes that are comparables in for my listings and make sure what does it actually look like in person?
Yeah, and go see them. If you can do a preview on them.
Is it just as nice as my clients or is it worse than my clients? That's what the thing is. Because then it gives you a better idea of how you're gonna price your clients out.
Exactly. It's more complex than people think.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is so important. That listing consultation. If you did all the right things in your pre-listing leading up to this, then when you get to that listing consultation, you should be pretty solid. You shouldn't have to spend hours on end explaining to them what you do. You should have given them homework. You should have been setting expectations with them with that homework and everything that you shared with them in advance. You should have asked them some key questions. You should have been asking them, why do you want to sell? It shouldn't be, the listing consultation shouldn't be where you're learning everything about why they want to sell and where they want to go and how. I'm asking, why are we moving? Where are we moving to? And if it's out of state, I'm going to say, hey, do you have an agent there? Because I would love to help you find a great agent there. Because I don't want you just to come across an agent. Have you thought about selling your house yourself? I get that elephant off the table because if they've been thinking about FSBO, then they're thinking about it. I'm not going to plant a seed that's not already there, most likely. Are you talking to other agents about listing your home? And who are they? There's a good chance I know them. Now, I'm never going to talk badly about another agent. I'm just going to, if I know them and how they run their business, I will, believe me, I'll pull up their stats in that area to know if they've even done business there. And I would emphasize what I've done in that area if I've had traction in there. Or do more research on that area so that I'm more knowledgeable and helping them than the other agent. Okay, so that's important. And we'll get into all of these. That's servicing and marketing, the offers and negotiation, contract to close, and then the post-closing systems. So what do sellers want from us? So don't be guessing what sellers want. We already know what they want. This is what they want. They want from us. Well, they want other is the number one. 27%, but let's look at what they want the most from us. They want us to help them price the home competitively. They want us to help them market the home to potential buyers. They want us to help them sell the home within a specific time frame. They want to help sellers find ways to fix up the home to sell it for more. And then the other things, what could some of the other things be that they want us to do? Any thoughts on that of what else they would want us? Well, paperwork, negotiations, those be some of the things that didn't come up here.
Estate sales, planning the move.
Oh yeah.
We do all the other stuff to get them out of the house, not just help sell it, but they actually have to vacate. How do we get them there?
Yeah.
A lot involved in that.
I want you to know that all your heavy lifting with sellers is going to come before you put it on the market. And that's why you're going to get that seller's listing agreement signed when you start going to work for them, not when it's right about to go on the market. That means you're going to have to go pre-MLS. It's okay. Don't get hung up on that. Protect yourself, because too many times I've heard an agent say, and again, not just new agents, oh, I've helped them get an estate sale person. I got him my painter. I got him my landscaper. A month later, hey, did you get that listing? No, they went with someone else. So being just helpful is not always enough. You've got to let them know how and when they hire you. And it's up to us to tell them that. They don't know. It's not like they really meant to take advantage of you. You did not make it clear what the path is to working with you. You just thought that being so helpful, they would of course go with you. Well, again, I will tell you, I did that. And I had people use somebody else or go try to do a FSBO. So I say these things not because I was so good, it never happened to me. Oh no, I was so bad and just unskilled that it happened to me. So we've got to take control of that. And when you're new, it's hard sometimes to feel that confidence. Get it. And that's why practicing and making sure you have the right materials to present is critical, absolutely critical. Remember, 27% of sellers used their same agent previously. So they had a good fiduciary relationship with that agent. But that's only like a third of them. Third of sellers or less use the same agent that they previously used. So do not assume that every seller has a go-to agent, because maybe their agent's no longer in the business. Maybe they retired or dropped out. Maybe they were horrible at staying in touch with them and just assume they'd come back to them magically. I say they put them up for adoption, right? So there is huge opportunity out there for you as a new person, because same with buyers. Although majority of them say they would use the same agent, majority of them do not end up using the same agent because they can't remember their name, they don't have their contact information, or someone else comes along their path in front of them at the time that they're thinking about doing it. How many times have you been thinking about something, and then somebody magically comes into your world at the time that you're really thinking about it, and it's like, oh, this is kismet, this is fate. Look, I was just thinking this. Well, it's the timing thing. So you've got to make sure your timing is, and that's just being consistent in your relationship with the people that are your leads or your database. So we talked about, let me go down. Pre-listing packet. Did you go over that on Tuesday, the pre-listing packet?
Briefly.
Okay. So this
Ran
is,
out of time because
I know, we had that little bit of time, and then we had the lovely,
glitch, so
we had the
it started
glitch.
late.
So we didn't have all of our time. So it is the pre-sale. It is where I gave people homework. It is where you can make certain, in my power tools, I have, and I'll show you just in a minute, in my power tools, I'll give you the sample of my power tools of what I sent to people for the pre-listing. So, and also in my power tools are the steps to working with a buyer, or steps to working with a seller, sorry. And it tells you what the ideal steps are. And I say ideal because sometimes, remember what I said, your clients want to rush ahead, and you got to like, oh, wait, and you've got to skillfully take them back to, okay, say, you know what, if they say we want to, list our house up next Tuesday and today is Thursday, I'm going to say, you know what, we've got some work to do. So I'm going to send you some homework before we sit down and talk about the nuts and bolts of listing your home. And so it's going to take us a little longer. And I never want to put a house on the market before we're 100% ready, because we only get one first impression, truly only one first impression. And if my goal is to help you sell this for the best price in the least amount of time, then we have to do what I call my success system. Are you on board? See what I did? Did you hear that script? I want their buy-in early, because if they're not, if they're going to try to drive the train or the car, then I got to keep taking the wheel away. I got to, in a skillful way. I can't say, give it to me. You got to listen to me. Our internal voice is sometimes saying, oh, would they just please listen? By doing this, it also saves you time, so that your listing consultation, when you go to their home, Or Chad Taylor brings them into the house, into the office. He's already seen the house because he did like a little pre-listing tour. But you should not have a 3-hour listing appointment. And you could, if that's the first time you tour the house, if that's the first time you're asking pre-qualifying questions, you could be there for 3 hours. And do you want to spend your Friday night or Tuesday night, 3 hours at somebody's house? No, you can't do, that's hard. And your family will get cranky with you. And you've got to know your value. What is it you bring to the table? So will you review it? And what are you going to, my pre-listing packet, makes it so all I have to do is just kind of review it and touch on it. Did you get a chance? Did you see the part about the important information I need to know? Because in that, you're going to see, I asked some questions of information, especially financial information that I mentioned before, that we have to know if we're listing this house. It doesn't eliminate the need for a listing consultation. That's where you get them to hire you. That's the opportunity. And you've been leading them there by the steps that you've been doing before that appointment. So important. And it is the start of the education that you're going to emphasize points of in that listing consultation. Because I'm setting expectations, because people don't always hear what you say the first time. People don't always understand fully what you said the first time. And some people totally ignore it. So I know, here's the, you have to be repetitive in what you share with buyers and what you share with sellers. You're going to think, well, I told them that when we met the first time, we already discussed this. Please know that they're going to retain very little of it because it all just comes at them. How have you felt being a new agent and all the information we throw at you? Do you remember all of it? Should I quiz you now? Or is anybody going to go, no, Kristen, don't do that, right? So it is, we repeat information to them throughout the whole process. So if that doesn't sound like your cup of tea, you got to get used to it. Because don't expect, that's why I put it in print. That's why we talk about it. That's why I'll do like a PowerPoint when I meet with them. I want them to the visual, the auditory, and then I want to give them something that they can go back and refer to. So here is my pre-listing information. I would send this to a potential seller. And in here, what I'm asking, I know it's a little tiny print, but I want a copy of the recent mortgage statement with current mortgage balance, monthly mortgage payment amount, and interest. You're gonna say, well, that seems, I can't ask them that. That seems personal. You got to know that. If you don't know that, then again, you're not understanding, can they actually sell this house? And how much, and remember that current mortgage balance is an estimate. It is not the literal balance. So it could be more, it could be less at the time they go to sell the house, but at least it gives you, I've seen agents do a seller's estimated and said, on the mortgage balance, from lender. Oh my God, yeah, it's from the lender and you've got to know it. I want information also on here, information on any other loan on the property, meaning home equity, second mortgage, whatever that is. People don't always understand about a home equity loan because you know what a lot of the companies do, they'll give you a credit card. It's tied to your home equity line. So it feels like a credit card. Well, that credit card, if they have spent any of that, some people just hold on to it and they don't spend down all of what their home equity loan is. Some people spend all of it, like if they're doing a remodel or something like that. So it has to be paid off at the time of closing. It doesn't just, it's not separate. It is tied to the home. Seller's disclosure addendum. Guess what? I give it to them as homework. And I say this, I say, you know what? I'm sending this to you now. I want you to get started. because I know this takes a while. Because if you've lived in your home a while, then you got to think, well, when did we replace that water heater? Oh,
Dig through their file.
Yeah. So I always tell them, here is, I'm just going to give you, just start working on it. And then once you have your draft done, then I'll be sending it to you electronically to fill out. But this takes a while because you're going to forget stuff you did to your house unless you've been meticulous about keeping your records. List of upgrades, repairs, remodeling, maintenance information. And if they have receipts and permits and contracts that they can show me, all the better. I want to know, what have you done to your home? Yearly property tax amount. Now, can I look on MLS for this as an agent? Yeah, but guess why I ask them? I find that if the seller highly participates in the selling of their home, they're going to most likely be a better partner with me and not expect me to do everything. Can I let you in on a secret, everybody? You are not solely responsible for selling someone's house or helping them buy a house. You're a key element of it, but the clients are your partners, and they can make it impossible for you to help them buy a house or to sell a house. So you've got to make certain, and I didn't know that. I didn't understand that in the beginning. I thought the weight of all of this was on me. I got to sell their house, right? Oh, but they won't listen to my pricing. They wouldn't keep it clean, and they kept canceling appointments, showings. Well, I soon learned that, well, then you just tied my hands behind my back. I can't, I'm good, but I don't perform magic, right? So I want them to participating in this process early. I want to know what their homes association dues amounts. Do they have that contact information? Do they have a copy of the covenants and restrictions? Because maybe this is a neighborhood where everybody's, when they go to paint the outside of their house, everything has to be approved. Maybe there's restrictions on what kind of fencing can go in that area. So I want to know that, because that can be challenging to find. And I want to know in advance. I don't want to wait until the title is pulled, because the title company is going to pull that. But I want it before that, because if a buyer's agent asks me, hey, my buyer has a boat, they want to be able to put it in their backyard, is that something they can do? And I don't have anything to share with them. I don't want to give them advice that's not, I mean, because I love my sellers, but they don't always know, and they might say something that's not accurate. It could get us all in trouble. Utilities, I actually, in my power tools, have a utility averages, because people like to know, how much does it take to heat this house, to cool this house, water. Now, you have to always, and I probably need to add this to my utility sheet, is usage depends can depend on many factors, such as numbers of individuals in the house and their usage. So a single person, of course, the utilities are going to be most likely, I don't know, they could have outrageous utility bills, but most likely it's going to be less than a family of 5.
It is a good idea. You should be able to put down the bottom caveat, family of 5 live here.
Mhm.
You know, because you're running 5 showers a day and
Yes.
10 loads of water in a week. And I mean, it makes a difference in
Oh,
how the cost of
Huge
things.
difference. But people are interested, especially first-time home buyers, when every penny counts of them trying to decide, can I afford to live here? I want 2 extra keys for the front door.
Why?
Why?
is that?
Why 2 keys?
Because if somebody loses the one in the lockbox, you have an extra one.
Yeah, so my husband is famous for, now he hasn't done it lately, but there for a while, he would come home with a key in his pocket and say, because he was out showing houses, and he'd say, I don't know which house this came from. And if it's the only key that the listing agent or the sellers had for the front door, it's going to cause pain, and they're going to maybe be a little mad at you. A little, a lot. So he'd have to go retrace his steps and figure out which house it was. And return it immediately, even at night. Okay.
Sure.
So that's really important. And sometimes, if you've got, I've seen where the front door, instead of like concrete steps, it has a deck there. And it has spaces between the boards, and somebody has accidentally dropped the key down. So I always want another key, because I don't want to have to ask my sellers to go back home and get me a key, because they get cranky with that. Or they can, not all of them. Some are lovely, but so I want to know that I can easily, or security codes. Are there codes for the garage? Could I let someone in that way? And is it a code that is not the main code? You know, usually on those, you can have a separate code that is like a temporary code. So again, I mean, you got to be careful, because you give out those security codes and then somebody could, yeah. Previous title insurance policy, if available. Most people don't have that. Again, if they do, great. If not, the title company is gonna be pulling title. Property plat map survey, other drawings of the property. If this was a new build when they bought it, there's a likelihood that they have these things. And that's just a bonus, an extra bonus for the buyer to be able to see those. That's nice. Top features. I want to know, what did you fall in love with when you bought this home? Because most likely what got them and they fell in love with is the same thing that's going to appeal to another buyer. So it makes me understand what was important to them and why they loved this house. And I can use that in my marketing. Also, it makes me understand how I can talk to them. I'll give you an example. New agent here, it's been a while ago, had a curmudgeon seller. And when she asked him this question, because we were on the market for a while, or she was, and nobody was getting offers, and people were not leaving good comments. Said kitchen's too small, it smelled like smoke. Oh, that's the kiss of death right now, especially. And so when I said, ask him, what is it that you fell in love with this house? He goes, well, I've never really liked the floor plan. I just got it at a very good deal. Oh, so you had reservations on, so you bought it at a discount because the floor plan was not that cohesive, and it had, and so do we need to price it in a similar fashion? Right? Ooh, you didn't necessarily like that. Is it a relocation? We don't see as many relocation sellers now, but it is, you will run across some, and that's with a seller whose job, either new job, is helping them move, or their current job is helping them move. And there can be different packages. There's national companies. If your seller's working with a relocation company, you will be giving them a generous portion of your commission, 30 to 45%. And you'll be doing all the work. They'll actually give you more paperwork to do. And you'll have to report to them weekly. And however, it's better than no business. And what they're doing, most of the packages, or many of the packages, that relocation company may, in 30, 60 days, buy the house from the seller so that the seller can move to the new city to buy a home. So it frees that seller on. And so that's part of that package, and your commission is going to be going towards part of that. Okay, it's just the reality. I'll be honest, when I was an agent, I felt like it was the biggest scam, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It helps corporations and all of that. And so there's stuff that helps the seller and the company, their company. So just know that you need to be aware. So this is just part of this pre-listing information. Then the next page, we go into things I need to know. Is there a lien on the house? Is this a divorce? Are you in foreclosure? Do you have past or outstanding child support? Is there?
IRS liens.
Oh, IRS liens, that's also the kiss of death. I mean, you can work it out, but the seller has to work it out with the IRS, or they cannot sell the house. So you don't want to go under contract and lead everybody on if the sellers have not worked out an arrangement with the IRS, because it may or may not happen. Are they underwater? Luckily, in our current market, we have very few foreclosures and even few short sales, meaning people are underwater. The good thing is, even if they've been having a hard time making their current payments, if they've been in their house, 10 plus years, they probably have enough equity to sell this house. They just are cash poor, right? So they should be able to sell their house and not go into foreclosure. That's very rare in this day and age. Matter of fact, when you're getting all these emails about be a foreclosure agent, REO, that's what real estate owned, bank owned. They're looking for agents. The supply and inventory is so low and it is so much work. I personally, in this market, I'd say move on. Don't be tempted by those emails. I get them. I know you're getting them. I'd say, no, thank you. Not right now. Market is not in there. So seller consultation preparation checklist. You've delivered your pre-listing packet. So here's some different ways to do this. I actually, for a very long time, would have my pre-listing packet delivered by a courier. Now it would be like $250 and up price point. Otherwise, I'd be emailing this to them or mailing it to them, right? But it makes an impression when that is delivered to them, and I would have it delivered to their work. It's just all about, do I stand out? Do I look different than everyone else? I'm going to confirm the appointment date, time, and location in advance. I'm going to ensure every decision maker is there. If it says, oh, my wife can't be here tonight, come on over and we can talk. No, while I'd love to come over and chat with you, let's wait until your wife is available. You need everybody at the table who is part of the decision making on this transaction. And that's harder, like if it's a divorce or something like that. Or, it's harder if it's an estate. Meaning, are all the siblings that there could be 7 siblings?
Yeah.
Hopefully there is one that has the ability to be the executor and is taking the lead person. But even that's sometimes.
They all have to agree.
Yeah, they all have to agree. And Megan's dealt with so much of this. So if you ever have those scenarios, especially with the states and that type of thing, Megan is a wealth of information because in her former life, that's a lot of what she did is working with the court and estates and that type of thing. Complete and practice your listing presentation. What are the materials you're going to use and how well do you know them? Are you out there just winging it? Are you out there gonna be winging it because you're not practicing now and you're like, but I don't have any potential sellers right now. You could get one tomorrow. It's all about what are you willing to prepare for and be ready for so that you don't look brand new and you get the business. We get the business by looking prepared and professional. And you do that by practicing. All of us come into real estate with a learning curve. So please know that and learn. Review the lead sheet. The lead sheet is also what I call my seller questionnaire, my buyer questionnaire. It's that sheet where you did most of those questions and information on the phone when you were qualifying them. Go over what they said about why they need to move, when they need to move. I always ask them, this is another key question I ask in that conversation is, if you were to list your house today, what price? And you'll think, well, why am I asking them that? Because every seller has a number in their head. And if they say they're not and get all coy with you, they're fibbing. Well, I just wanted to talk to you because I don't know. Well, I get that. And I found every seller has a number in their head. Just what's your number right now? Just if you were to put it on the market, what comes out? They all have a number. Why do you need to know that number? Because you need to know whether they're on track with you and what you're seeing in the market, meaning they're realistic, or do they have pie in the sky aspirations of what they're going to get for this shack? Because then I know I got a lot of work to do. And I know maybe I don't want this listing. If we, after this listing conversation, listing consultation, if we're not partnering and they look like they want to do this, but I know this works, and I might say, you know what? I don't think I'm the agent for you.
Yeah.
That's okay. I know you're going to think, why would I say no to business? Well, there's some business, if they don't partner with you and they make it impossible for you to sell that house, they won't price it right. And yes, are you going to take some listings that are overpriced? Yes, you are. But it's got to be that you made a thoughtful business decision knowing that. Okay. Are they going to do what needs to be done to get the house ready to get the price that they want? Because if they're not, then they can't get that price. And so you know what's going to happen. And then 3, are they going to make it easy to show? Or is it going to be a circus every time somebody wants to show that house? Oh, got to go home, get the dogs. Got to put them in the car and drive around the block. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Yeah. So arrive to the listing presentation in a professional manner and what am I going to say? On time. Agents have gotten listings because they were the only one on time. Now you're going to say, that's crazy. Well, it's not that agents, I don't think they on purpose are late. I don't think so.
You show up at 1 o'clock for the open house and the agent's not there yet. I mean, where?
I get it.
It happens frequently.
So here's what I'm going to tell you happens, Megan. When we're solo practitioners, even if you're on a team, you're not doing your preparation timely and you're trying to do it all last minute. And I just want to impress upon you all, we shouldn't, that's not being a professional. That's why if you were at the business meeting on Tuesday and David was talking about the NAR settlement and how he said, I really think this is good for us. What it's going to do is it's going to make it harder for the people who are winging it because they're not going to be able to succeed because you have to come to the table and you've got to be a professional and you've got to be above average because most agents are average or below average. And that's not me dissing them. That's me saying, I will tell you why. Most of them have had little to no education. So what you experience here, what you think is like, oh my God, the fire hose, and that you're just like, your head is spinning and hurting because of what we're throwing at you all the time here in the beginning, they're getting little to none of this. Little to none. And you're going to come across those agents. You're going to say, oh my God, I thought they were experienced agents. They didn't know this, this, and this. And you will. You will, because you will have gone to Linda's contracts class and learned contracts at a higher level. And that means not just one sitting of the class. Okay. And you might say, well, but I don't like paperwork. It's not about the paperwork. Although once you close 4 transactions while you're in launch, remember, we gift you a transaction coordinator for the remaining 12, whatever, how many more months you have in the program. Any of those closings, you get Rosa or someone on her team to do your transaction, all the paperwork, but you've got to know the contract. And here's why. It's not and I know that doesn't sound fun, but do you want to be outmaneuvered by another agent? Now, mind you, I didn't say out negotiated because another buyer could come in stronger, higher, and cleaner than your buyer. You can only do what the buyer is comfortable doing and able to do, right? However, another agent can outmaneuver you because they know the contract better than you, especially when you're under contract. If you don't understand that I filled in this blank, but you don't know what happens, what it says in the next paragraph of what could happen or will happen, then you're going to be on the losing side. Yeah. So that's why it's so important that you be practicing and remember, come as a professional. And here's what I'm going to recommend. You will have, because in my steps to working with a seller, I actually do kind of a two-step. I go preview the house several days before my listing presentation. You're like, well, why do you do that? Because I'm going to tour the house. I'm also going to take some pictures with my cell phone because I'm going to, when I come for the listing appointment, I'm going to have some mock marketing material with the picture of their house on it. I'll bet you hardly anyone else will have done that. If anyone. Again, you can differentiate yourself so easily in this business if you will take the time and effort to do it. And I want to see that house because how the heck are you going to come up with a pricing strategy if you don't see the inside of that house? Right? I don't know. I never built that comfort level. Remember what I said? I spend 2+ hours chewing on comps and numbers and statistics to come up with a pricing strategy. Okay. Any questions on that? No questions?
One thing we didn't discuss yet, Kristen, because this comes up a lot when I'm doing the coaching with people, is the timing of this. You send them your pre-listing packet for the client to fill out. How much time do you give them for that?
I wanted, it depends. I don't want to give them like a week on that. I give them a couple of days because in a couple of days, I've seen their house. I can come back and work on my pricing strategy. It's hard to do it in less than 24 hours, but I don't want to also give too much of a gap because another agent could come in. I assume unless they have truly like promise that they're going with me, I still don't believe it until we have a written agreement. And that's where getting the listing agreement signed, you got to get comfortable talking about commission. Some agents like Chad Taylor will not give you his pricing strategy until you hire him. Now, I will tell you, most agents have not built that muscle that strong.
Experience yet.
However, I don't give specifics. I'll say here just some general numbers. When you hire me, we're going to come up with a detailed pricing strategy. So here's what it's looking like in your neighborhood. But I learned the hard way that if you give them all that information, then they can move on without you because you just gave them one of the key elements. And that's what some FSBOs are doing. That's why I want to know, have you thought about selling your house? Because I've got to be careful. Am I just helping you with information? Right? So that's why if you look at my steps to working with a seller, it gives you that progression of the steps and how this should go. Now, is that written in stone? No. There are agents that do it a little bit differently or a lot differently. Find out what works best, but you need to do all the prep work. Do not wait for that listing consultation to be where you do everything and you find out everything. Because then you're not at a point that you can talk about pricing with them and then set the expectations of how you're going to market the home and work with the sellers. And that should have been in some of your pre-listing information, right? So that's where you're going to have to ask them. And one of the things I would recommend, okay, I'm going to see no, I don't have it here. Okay, one of the things I have in the Power Tools, and I will post it, is I have commission menu of services. In the market that we're going into, where so many consumers have been hearing about the settlement and been getting inaccurate information. If I was an agent today, I'd be going back to my menu of services, and it says for this commission percent, I do this. For this, I do this, and for this, I do this. So I have a silver, gold, and platinum, or silver, yeah, I think it's silver, gold, and platinum. And then consumers have a choice. And also it'll save you from a seller saying, but I want you to do this too. And that'll cost you extra money, but they don't care because they're telling you what to do. And when you frame it out, so at my silver level, that's basically what every agent does, and maybe just a tiny bit more, okay? And like I said, I'll post this on the Facebook page under files for you to see. But it's really important, I think, in this current environment to not just have one commission amount that you say, this is what I charge. I believe showing consumers they have a choice. So to me, I would go a percentage, then I go a percentage and a half, and then a whole percentage up. Does that make sense? So if I did 6%, 6.5%, 7%, or 7%, 7.5%, 8%. We have an agent, Tracy Jacobs does this. He got an 8% commission on a listing agreement because he spelled it out this way. So, and I think for a newer person, it actually helps you have more confidence in talking commissions because you've got different, think of it, it's just different packages. And then the seller gets to choose. And if they say, hey, I want this, and you say, well, remember that was in my gold package. Do you want to, do we need to change? Do we need to adjust? Because I'd be glad to provide that service or whatever. But that was at this level. And when you see my menu of services, I want you to know it's just examples. You decide what extra you just want to give. Because like in the platinum, that could be you paying for a home warranty plan. That could be you paying for something like staging. Actually, I think that was in my gold.
Photography or something.
Yeah, the photography, whatever that is. So you decide, please make sure it's something you can afford at this time to do your packages. But there's just little things sometimes can make the difference between you and the rest of the crowd. And so this going into this market, and with you all already not feeling super confident, just as a new agent talking commission, have a tool that's going to make you stand out and give consumers choices. Because wouldn't you like a choice?
Oh, absolutely.
And when
Makes
you
feel like you're more in charge of things.
yes, and make it very clear, this is what I'm going to get for this. Because again, I want you all thinking about the tools that are going to help you, and then practice that tool and fine tune it to where it's what you want and can afford to offer people. Does that make sense? Okay, so give me some feedback. Dominic, Callie, Serenity. You're all muted.
I asked in the chat because you were wondering,
Callie?
can you hear me?
And I can't hear you.
I can hear you, Callie.
See why
Oh,
I
wait.
can't hear. Hold on, Callie. Let me try to. Nope. Yeah, Callie, I've got my volume up. Do you have your volume up?
Yes.
Okay. There you are. Okay. Any
Okay.
feedback, Callie?
You said that the sellers, like you mentioned that sellers kept on like canceling showings or whatever, just so we're prepared when they ask, or just so we could tell our sellers, like if we go to a listing appointment, how that whole process works. How do they see Broker Bay just the way that we do? And do they approve them before we even get to approve them, or how does that work?
No, they're going to get notification. Yeah, so they're going to get notification, and then you get to talk with them. Do they want to approve every showing? Is it a show and go, meaning somebody just schedules and they get to go? There's some options there for your seller. I tell them this, that I understand, here's what's hard. Your house needs to be show ready every single day. And luckily, if they've really done their homework and they've really got the house in good condition, it could be just for 3 or 4 days. They have no idea how good that is versus when we're in a market with the average days of 45 days that you got to keep your house clean for 45 days every day. So, you know, if we do the right things and get this house set up for success, then we're going to maybe only ask you to have your house show ready for 4 days. Maybe. I can't promise it, but that's our goal. That's what we're going for, right? Is that not what you want, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? And I say this, if you cancel a showing, unfortunately, most buyers will not come back. They move on. Even in limited inventory, they're on a mission, they will move on. So if we make it difficult because you didn't get to pick up the kids' toys or the dirty clothes or what have you, or the dog, you couldn't get over there to kennel the dog, then they're probably not coming back. And we need to go, you guys, because red class is starting. If anybody else has any comments or questions, let me know. You can always reach out to me. And thanks for being on board today. And I apologize for our challenges we had, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there. All right. See you soon. Thank you.